It seems independent authors, those are self-publishing, want to publish at the speed of light, and they often underestimate the amount of time it takes to publish their manuscripts. Greetings, entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast, the show that uncovers the secrets to win with books beyond book sales and dominate authorpreneurship. Through exclusive author interviews, stories, and must-have resources, you will discover some of the secrets and strategies to thrive with books and generate lasting income. I invite you to become an Authorpreneur Ambassador and join me in my mission to raise up 10,000 Caribbean entrepreneurs by 2030. Spread the word about the podcast and encourage more people to increase their impact and income with books beyond book sales. To get started, visit authorpreneursecrets.com/resources and download all the resources that you need to become a winning authorpreneur. Without further ado, let's get into the show. It's episode 109 of the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast. I'm your host, C. Ruth Taylor, and coming up in today's show, I am going to be doing another Q&A, and it's all about publishing timelines. And I'm going to be talking about timelines in general, answering some frequently asked questions, and then diving into some timelines as it relates to when you get paid on Amazon, if you want to make changes to your book, how long it takes, and a whole host of questions that I frequently get asked. And I'm going to put a link to those in the show notes. So stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by Point Global. They have been one of our sponsors for the Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit. And as you know, the podcast is an extension of that summit. So let's have a word from our sponsor, Point Global, and then we get into the show.
At Point, our mission is to help our clients launch new products and brands with as little risk and as much reward as possible. With a deep understanding of marketing and business concepts across various industries, Point Global finds the most efficient methods for reaching your target audience, which ultimately translates into sales. Combining new marketing skill sets and the latest technology, Point specializes in creating innovative marketing solutions that move the needle for our clients from zero to launch. Join Point today.
Before I get into the timelines, what's the latest in terms of my authorpreneurship ventures? Well, I continue to do teachings from my book, Unshackled Queen, and I started a channel by the name of Unshackled Queens. And so I'm encouraging you to subscribe to it. It's all about helping women to walk in their authority and fulfill their purpose and to get past all the pain, the shame, and anything that is hindering them from fully functioning and fulfilling the purpose of which God has created them. And it's coming out of my own journey to embrace my purpose and to get past my past so I can reign. That's one of the latest. I also have been getting interviews. I did an interview last week, Olayinka Okenko, her program, and it was about overcoming shame. And I've been getting quite a bit of interviews. All right, so timelines is one of my pet peeves. It seems independent authors, those are self-publishing, want to publish at the speed of light, and they often underestimate the amount of time it takes to publish their manuscripts. So some of the authors that I work with, they come with their date all set and they finish writing and they even say, you know, my book is fully edited, so can it be published in a month? And then when we get starting in the process, there are certain delays and things happen and you find out it wasn't as edited as you thought it was, and there's still time for proofreading and all of those things. It often causes problems. So you need to give yourself more time than you think. What's a safe timeline from manuscript to publication, give yourself at least 3 months. And I'm going to break down what some of that involves. So you have to have your cover designed. You could start with the front cover, and if you have the front cover. Now, a typical designer, the ones we work with, will take 3 days to present a first draft, and then you go back and forth until that is settled. Your full cover cannot be completed until your manuscript is formatted. And within like our company, we kind of take like 7 days to give you a first draft, 5 to 7 days, and then corrections. And before we get there, the editing, there are different kinds of editing. So if your book hasn't been properly structured, you may need structured or developmental editing, depending on how big the manuscript is. Say it is between 15 and 30,000 words. That could take, let's see, every 10,000 words is like 2.5 hours. That includes the person reading and writing up. And that person might ask for 2 weeks to get back to you. So that's 2 weeks out of the month that you would have given. And then after that, you have to go through the copy editing, where you're checking for the grammar and the sentence structure, which is what most people think the editing is. And depending on how large a manuscript is, that can take 2 to 3 weeks again. Some editors might go fast, they may take a week, but after that, you have to respond to the editorial comments. That might take you a week, and then you need to proofread it to catch what the editor missed, and then the formatting. And then you have to go back and forth proofing the formatting to make the corrections. And then you have to send it off to the printery when you're done. And they may take a week. If you're waiting for it from Amazon, it may take a couple of days, 5 days. It may take 2 weeks if it has to come to you on the island. And then you have to read it through and go back. So sometimes the whole formatting, especially for the print book, could take a whole month. And if the document isn't properly edited, it will take a while. Now we have had persons who've both written and published in 90 days or less. I have done that, but I tend to do that with smaller manuscripts. I haven't done it for a manuscript larger than 40,000 words because of the editing back and forth, and it depends on the state. The bottom line is give yourself more time than you expect. We just released a book for a client, Chef Ricardo. Now, when Chef came to us, his manuscript wasn't written. And so they started writing in February. And by the 13th of May, his book was published. And then by the 26th of May, the print book was published. But it was a very small manuscript, and there wasn't a lot of rewriting to be done. It was well written. It was small enough that the copy editing and proofing was done fast because it was not a large manuscript, right? So I say give yourself an average of 90 days. If you are formatting for print, consider the fact that you're going to have to print a copy, and that may take time. So give yourself 3 to 4 weeks for that. If it is the ebook alone, then 5 to 7 days. But in about 10 days, maybe that would be done, and you only need the front cover. So some things can be done simultaneously, and you can speed up the process. For the print book, you have to wait until the formatting, at least the first draft, to get an idea of the page count. And if you're satisfied with it, so that the designer can work out the spine width. And so sometimes at the beginning of the process, the author wants, they want a full cover, for you to give them a full cover. And they haven't sat down to work out their book description. We don't know what the size of the book is. So at best, what we can give you is a mock-up. But at the end, we have to come back and do the process again. And I find that many authors, independent authors, don't understand the process. And if you are publishing traditionally, that's normally like an 18-month process. And so you have to give yourself more time than you think. And I say at least 90 days is a safe time. Now, what about printing books, or when it is published. So it is edited, formatted, and printing. What are the timelines involved in that? I'm going to just use Amazon for the time being. I'm not going to go on talk about Draft to Digital and their timelines, just Amazon. So how long does the ebook take to be published after you submit it? Now, when you submit it through your Kindle Direct Publishing account, it can take 24 hours to 72 hours. That's what Amazon has on the books. So it's up to 72 hours. But I have seen where sometimes, at least when I use KPF to format it, the Kindle Create to format it, and you get the KPF file, that within sometimes 4 hours, the ebook is published. Now, the print book, how long does it take? It has to go through a review process as well. And if there are no corrections to the cover or different things after you submit it, it can take 24 up to 72 hours. And so you have to factor those things in the planning. And many times independent authors or first-time authors are unaware of these things. And like I said, I'm going to put a link in the show notes where you can get a lot of details in terms of the Amazon timelines. Now, how long does it take for your cover thumbnail to appear on the detail page or the details? Up to 72 hours. What about if you have to make a change to your ebook or print book after you've published and you find an error? For the ebook, it can take up to 72 hours. And yes, the change will be reflected on the devices that the buyers use to read the book. For the print book, though, it can take longer. It can take days for the changes to appear. It can take up to 7 to 8 days and sometimes longer. We had the unfortunate experience, myself and my co-authors for a book that we'd written, that I knew I should have given the book one more proofing, and I just said, no, I'm not going to proof it. Enough eyes are on it. And when the book came out, there was an error. And even a month after, we requested like a print copy, the error was still there. The file wasn't updated. And then Amazon told us that we had to purchase all the copies that were available with the error. So we had to buy the remaining 24 copies because their stock, however they did their system, the stock still had the old copies, and they said we had to purchase it. So we had to purchase it before it was reflected. So one of the things is, don't rush the process. Take your time, because the mistakes are not so easy to correct. I know I say I'm not going over to Draft to Digital, but unlike Amazon, they're saying that a correction can take up to 90 days to correct. So you have to make sure that your manuscript has been properly edited and you have the right document to go up. And one of the tricks that, or tips I would say, is if you've made a correction to your print, try to order a print book after and see if it is okay before you order bulk. And I've learned that from mistakes. So updates to your ebook manuscript, it can take up to 48 or 72 hours. Updates to like your low content book, your journals that just have a lot of lines and things like that. We learned this the hard way. That can take up to 10 business days, not counting weekends. So if you made a mistake or you find that there's something to change, it can take up to 10 business days. And so you have to be mindful of the timelines. Now, what about timelines to order your author copies? After the book has been published, it takes at least 24 hours before that order author copies button will come on so that you can order the copies. And sometimes even the look inside feature is not enabled immediately. So how long does that take to appear? Sometimes it can take 7 to 8 business days. How long does it take for the book to be linked? So if you publish the book separately, sometimes you will find that the ebook and the paperback, they are not linked. And they're saying that it can take up to 48 hours to a week sometimes for the link to appear. And in terms of your hardcover editions too, sometimes it take a while. I found that getting hardcovers when you order them through your KDP account, the author copies, hardcovers seem to take longer than the regular paperback. And I had an instance where I ordered 10 books and it took over a month for me to get them, 10 hardcovers of my journal. What about payment? This is another big thing that I'm asked about. How soon after can you get your royalties? Amazon says approximately 60 days after the end of the month, once you've met the minimum sales threshold. And if you don't have a bank in the US or Canada or these other countries as Caribbean persons, if you don't have that overseas bank account, then you have to tick, I don't have a bank, and you wait on a check, but you only get the check after you've made at least $100 in royalties. And that starts being paid out approximately 60 days after the end of the month, once you've met the requirements. In terms of the review of your book, that can take 24 to 72 hours. In terms of your pre-order, when you're doing pre-orders, if you're setting up a pre-order, then you need just your ebook cover, that's the front cover, you need the book description and the pricing. So say you're setting up your pre-order 90 days before the book is ready. So it's now, call it June. So June, July, August. You want your book to come out at the end of August or early September, and you set up the pre-order date. Your manuscript is not yet ready. You're still editing, or you may still even be writing. How long does it take, or how long do you have before you upload that manuscript? Amazon gives you up to, I think, 72 hours before. I like to say 4 days before you should upload it. And then it's going to be locked. You can't make any changes to it again until it is released, and they will send you reminders. What else is normally asked? In terms of timing, in terms of for us getting the book on the island. So when you order your author copies, depending on how many, usually our folks on average order 100 at a time. It will take maybe about a week to ship to the US office, depending on the courier company you're using. The one we use, the delivery is in Florida. So Skyshore Shipping is the one we use. Taking it in can be quite a hassle. And so we use a third-party courier company like ShipMe and Skyshore Shipping, and they give you an overseas address. Ours is in Florida, and within a week, often the book is shipped there, and then they will bring it in the same week or the next week. So we normally say give yourself 2 to 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks, I say, because sometimes there are delays, flight delays, shipping delays. So when your book is published, you don't want to have your launch immediately if you intend to have physical books in hand. I normally say give yourself at least 4 weeks after, so that you have the 2 to 3 weeks to get the books on the island, and you don't run the risk of having a launch without books. So that's the timeline you need to set there. What about changing details to your book? Suppose you saw an error in your book description. How long does it take for it to correct and show up? Again, that can take up to 72 hours after you've made the change for it to reflect on Amazon. And if you clicked expanded distribution, it may take a little longer. How long do you have for like your Kindle price promotion? So for those who may not know that, if you make your ebook exclusive to Amazon and you're enrolled in Kindle Select for 90 days, you have this 5 to 7 day promotional period that you can make your book free, or you can set it at 99 cents, or you can stagger the price, and you can use that to push your bestseller sales. You can use it to work with your street team to get those interviews. So the people are getting, you can use it to work with your street team to get those book reviews so that your team will get the book at a lower price, and then you can stagger it as well. That is a 5 to 7 day period. In order to set it up though, I believe you have to set it up at least like 30 days before you want it to set up. All right. I trust that you found the answers helpful to these timeline questions. And if you want more details, I have included a link in the show notes, but those generally are the main concerns and questions I get. Share it with a friend, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a comment, let me know if these episodes are helping you, and ta for now, until next time.